This is Austin Real Estate Investing.
Austin Real Estate Investing.
We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead, and this is the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today we've got my friend Roman Tomakiv on. He is a loving husband, passionate hospitality entrepreneur, real estate investor, and an Ironman. Hey, Roman, how you doing?
Awesome, Jordan. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. And we met at our meetup, so I think that's always just a great place to meet people, is to go to local meetups and see what's going on in your area. So thank you for coming to that too.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. That's a really the best, especially if you're new in the area. That's the best way to go. Just find your local meetup, boom, and like from knowing 0 people in a new town, like you can get to know 5, 10, 15, 20. So 100%. Those are the great places. And yeah, thank you for hosting that.
Yeah, I know we like that for that exact reason. It's just a good place to meet people with similar interests. Roman, before we get started and get too far in here, most important question, what is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
It's probably more, since now I'm married and we'll get to it. So it's not it's like ours, right? Like my wife's and mine. So it's called Estelle's. It's more like a lounge cocktail place. It just has a great interior. Inside it feels really cool, and has they have good appetizers and drinks, so it's from that standpoint. But from the cuisine, I'm a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern guy. I love hummus. I love the kind of kebab and halal and all those things. So definitely more on that side. But check out the Estelle's. It's a cool place.
Absolutely, I'll need to check that out. I've actually not been there. So Roman, how did you get involved with real estate investing, and how are you involved with real estate investing right now?
Well, I guess there's 2 sides, and I start with the one because again, I'm in here in the States, in the United States, because again, I'm originally from Ukraine, and my initial experience go back to probably 2006 or 7 when I've done some deals back home with my dad, kind of right before the whole 08, 09 debacle. But here in the States, it's 2017, and again, kind of bigger pockets, right? And it's probably way overused, but yeah, podcast, Brendan Turner. I started with a house hack, but I started with maybe now more traditional. Back then it was, I got a duplex. I love those, right? You live in one unit, kind of rehab the other one, rent out, and then do the rehab in your own, and then after a year kind of move out and get another one. So that's kind of give you the 30-second background. And I think from that standpoint, I just kind of fell in love. I like that it's tangible, right? That it's something versus just as a stock market or like crypto, like these things are not really, they don't really exist in nature, right? Like with real estate, it's tangible. You can see it, you can feel it. From the valuation standpoint, and not something like you'll wake up in a day or two and the thing is down 20-30%, right? Real estate doesn't really crash in prices overnight. So I think all these aspects, and again, plus we can talk about it, depreciation, appreciate all those benefits. So, but I think the big one, I just happen to like in architecture, right? I love the design. So all those aspects to it, real estate has, and there's different flavors of it. You can do long-term rental, short-term rental, flipping, building, developing land, right? So there's a cool way of finding what matters to you, what you like.
That's awesome. So did you say you had done a few deals in Ukraine?
Oh yeah, I still own. It's we were building, but again, it was me easier because my dad was there. He was like building. I was pretty much sending money. And back then it was kind of approaching the 08, 09, but it was kind of happening here. It wasn't as bad in Europe, but then about a year in, everything in Europe collapsed, right? So we had a good time in, and now obviously now with the war and everything, but still looking back, I'm probably, I don't even know, 20, 30x, because it just, back then it was everything so cheap. Just to give you the perspective, back then their local currency was one. It was $1. You get 4 local currency. Now for $1 you get like 38, right? So just in that alone, like you can kind of add it plus inflation plus the war. And real estate is real estate, right? And the thing back over there, they build everything from cement and brick and concrete. They don't really do, plywood. So everything is pretty much as a castle, and it's going to stay there for centuries, right? So there's a lot of, again, I don't know if you've been to Europe, everything's, so, you can tell things been sitting for like hundreds and hundreds of years, and people live in them, and it looks perfect.
Yeah, I've had clients from other countries as a realtor that say like, hey, why do you guys use wood here? It's so silly. It burns.
Exactly.
It wears faster. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why not use concrete? And I'm like, you know what? That's a great point. But I don't have the answer to that question.
Yeah, we do like commercial, right? Like the high rises. Obviously, you can't really use wood. I think wood is up to either 4 or 5 floors, right? Then it just doesn't make sense from the foundation standpoint. But so yeah, I've been kind of.
I'm curious about this. So you have properties in Ukraine still right now?
Oh yeah, because all my family's back there, so it's all. But luckily, they're on like a western side, about 2 hours from Poland, so there's no, and they live in like a city. There's no really there's no, what do you call, like the army infrastructure, right? There's no. It's all civilian type infrastructure. There's nothing really, to kind of target. So it's pretty safe and stable. But obviously, it's impacted us from the economic standpoint. But yeah, you would be surprised. Like I was talking to my dad last week, and it's like, no, still people buy, like life goes on, right? Like, and I think it's a good thing. Like you can't just, obviously, yeah, there's a war, but stopping, like life goes on, right? Things happen, people go to school, you go get a work, get a business. So I think it's a good thing. And, even real estate's still strong. People, buy, people get married. So all in all, it's not as horrible as might seem, from kind of thousands of miles away.
Yeah, I have no idea what life is actually like on the ground in Ukraine. So you've got some properties in Ukraine. What do you have in Ukraine right now? And then we'll go to like coming to America and what you started doing here.
Yeah, it's more commercial. Like we own like a 4-story. So there's a bottom more like a gym, then there's like a bank. Then I think it's more like a little, kind of like WeWork, right? So they have rent like little rooms, and then on top, similar setup. So it's been pretty stable. Yeah, a lot of the small businesses, but the best one is the bank, because they have like a 5-year lease, and every month they pay you with inflation adjustment. So it's like, so it's never the same. As inflation goes up, they pay you that increment. So for example, I forgot the number. So if you rent out, with 100, let's say it's 10,000 a month. Now it's probably 20 or 25, because with inflation and everything goes up, your lease goes up, right? So those are really sweet deals. And again, it's primarily you'll get them with big institutions or like big corporations that they can't do that, right? Like small mom and pop, they can't really afford that. So and then another more bigger one, I think it's about 10,000 square feet. It used to be, it's kind of commercial mixed use. It just, for some reason, again, markets are so different. It makes way more sense to do that versus getting like a single family home, because it's not going to cash flow, because the supply and demand is just so out of whack. With a lot of Ukrainians, they work in Europe and they basically send money and buy homes. And like the rent, for example, the 2-3 bedroom apartment could cost you like more than 100,000, but the rent could be like $300 or $400, right?
Oh, wow.
So the numbers just not, and the whole culture, people want to own. And I think Europe, it's just people want to own. There's another like rental market, because again, people tend to stay in their cities from when they, born, go to school, college, work. They don't really travel as here in the States. because we travel, if you have any adventures, boom, another job, takes you, no time to just pack up and leave. And then you're rent a place and you figure it out what you want to do. So it's a different market than Europe. So, but the business works much better because business, they have money and it's similar kind of NOI calculation that's here.
What is a typical, and we'll move on after this, what's a typical cap rate for a building like that in Europe, in Ukraine specifically? Sorry.
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, that would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
Oh, it's definitely going to be higher because with the risk and everything, definitely more than 10%, like a 10 cap.
Really?
Because
So what's higher on the risk side?
It's just instability in general. Like it's inflation. There's so many moving pieces. Currency, right? Like inflation, because everything's coming from Europe with euro and the US, and then you have local currency. Plus, obviously, you add in, that before the war was still some instability. So you always see that kind of instability. And there's not really, I guess you can still take them to court and everything, but people tend to more figure out without going through the commotions and everything as far as contracts go. So I think it's like those emerging markets. Everything you almost get the premium because it's just not as stable as your European market. It's funny, I heard like in Switzerland, we used to work together, they have 100-year mortgages and the rate's like 1.5% to 1%, right? So talk about risk, it's probably non-existing, right?
Yeah.
But prices are, I think, 2x or 3x than here. That's why you need a 100-year mortgage to make payments to make, so you can afford that property. But again, I don't think I want to give my kids a mortgage and then have their kids pay the same mortgage, right? If it's 100-year.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, we sure have it good here. So when you moved to the States, Roman, where did you first go? I know
It was Jersey.
To Austin. Oh, you moved to Jersey.
Yeah, we moved. So I came back in 2000. I just graduated high school, so I went to college. Went to community college. So it was Addison, New Jersey. I went to Rutgers, for my business school, like undergrad. So it was kind of always and then moved to Connecticut. So I've always been in that New York area until 2019. Kind of perfect timing, right before COVID.
Yeah.
I got an offer with Bank of America in Charlotte because that's where they headquartered. So I spent COVID hit, and I was like, all right, I just decided to travel because I could work. I work remotely. So I traveled probably, and that's actually first time I drove through Austin. It was 2020, July 1st, I remember as of today. And it was like super hot. I was like, holy crap, man. It was like 105 or 106, right? You can only be in the shade. You can't be on, outside under the sun. So I really loved it. I get to run by the water. So I really like all those, it kind of looked futuristic. It's like it's a new city versus compared to, New York's probably not a good example, but more something like established like Philadelphia, like those older cities versus more old brick and concrete. This was all glass, old tech companies, a lot of young people. I was like, I kind of fell in love right there and then. And, who knew that basically 3 years after that, we'll move in here full time.
Yeah. So you were kind of traveling around the country, and then where did you settle after that? Because I know you moved here in 2022, right?
Last year, basically. So then I settled in Denver because I bought like a mountain house outside of Breckenridge because that was, again, my goal. I wanted to, since I was still working, I was like, okay, I have a W-2. That's the easiest way to get, mortgage or a second home. It was a second home at that time. And, it was like a 10%. Back then it was still 3.5, right? Looking back, it's a deal, right? So I bought that and I figured, okay, I'm going to settle in Denver. Again, just being, close to my property, and kind of we enjoyed Denver to see how it feels. And and then Denver, and then we spent about a year and a half, and this opportunity came along with opening my territory as a short-term rental management business, and here I am in Austin. So, but it's been probably through 40 different states, and Austin, it's definitely number one from weather, economic environment, business, people, just hits a lot of boxes. So Austin is a great place to be.
Yeah, I always tell people from just the atmosphere, the people that are around you in Austin, you just can't beat it, especially if you're interested in business and growing as a person. There's so many growth-minded individuals. There's so many people trying to get in better shape, trying to start a business, trying to get to financial independence, whatever it is. There's somebody trying to get better at it in Austin. It's really not a city where people are just happy staying stagnant and staying still. Everybody's trying to grow in some way or another. And the more people doing that, it seems like the more people want to do that, which is awesome.
And it feels like probably, I don't know, you've been here longer. Every person I meet, they not local. They not from here, right? Like and I think that's another drive as you're in a new city, like you want to grow, you want to learn, right? Like it's not, I think it's just that kind of having that growth mindset. Even starting like for a person to move to a new city, that's already progress, right? So I don't know. I mean, how many people they're like stay where they are, went to school, got a job, and they're afraid to move because, or it's my family is here, or my roots are here, or I don't know, what I'm going to do in that other city. The thing, there's only again, 5 to 10% of people that actually take an action to do something.
Yeah, it's very uncommon that people leave, especially once they get to, let's say, college age, and they've got a job and they've started a career somewhere, they've been for a long period of time. It's scary, and I understand that. But yeah, I could just imagine how different it would be to leave continents and come somewhere different. Yeah. So Roman, what initially got you interested in real estate investing at all? So it sounds like you've kind of been in it for a while. But where did that first bug come from? Where did the idea come from?
I think it started like, again, personal development. I call it's my second birthday. Went to Tony Robbins.
Oh, wow.
And then in UPW, it was in Newark, New Jersey. And it was, as I remember now, it was July 22nd or 20th. There was that kind of Sunday to Monday. It started Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like a 4-day. And then on the Monday, and I came out a brand new person as far as my big aha was like, I'm not free, right? Like I went to school, I had, like a Wall Street job. I thought that's what I wanted. But then I realized, holy man, like this is not where I'm going. Like I'm not free, right? I'm just climbing that ladder, but I'm climbing on the wrong side of the ladder. That's not what I wanted to do. And obviously kind of expose myself to, again, meetups in New York and then bigger pockets, just that I started to see different people, like what they do, like, and they business owners, and 90% they were all in real estate or owned some form of real estate that gave them that passive income. So you don't have to worry about your W-2. Like you can live off of that. Like, so that was my main, like, oh yeah, I want that. That's kind of the vehicle I'm going to use. And then additionally, kind of from my Ukrainian experience, like I know it works because my dad pretty much lives off that income 100% completely because he retired, right? So I already had that evidence, like that it's working. And like now seeing the new people around me are doing it, and they were like much younger. I was like, man, it felt like I wasted like 15 years of my life. But what was most frustrating, I went to undergrad, went to business school. Nobody talks about it, right? Like, no, they don't teach you. Like it's all around, okay, come here, get your education, get a job, and spend 20, 30 years doing that job. And who knows what's going to happen after that, right? Nobody talks about, that passive income. You're building your wealth so you can, either pass on to your generation or just enjoy that more passive kind of lifestyle. So that was like, I was almost angry, like at that point, like, oh my God. Right. Like it's like, it's just stuff you don't know. And then you're like, oh my God, boom, aha moment. And then I was just all in. So, and then we bought a mobile home park. It was just, And when you're like that excited, you're like going on in and you're figuring out later, right? Like looking back, I was like, holy crap, I took so much risk, but it was kind of calculated, but it was a lot of the new, right? Like I knew it's going to happen. Like, for example, I bought my duplex and it was kind of cash flowing, but it was a house hack. And I got into this, construction project. I had zero experience. So it was just, I was pretty much, learning on the fly. So it was fun. Definitely was fun experience.
Yeah, I think it's real funny how you say that you found all this out and you were almost mad because nobody ever told you. And I think that's just our education system. It teaches people to be employees, not entrepreneurs, and it doesn't teach you to build a future for yourself. I talked to a guy today. I talk to people every day about real estate, and he said, "Hey, I got interested in house hacking because I realized that I don't get to determine how many vacation days I have, and I really don't get to take a vacation when I want. So by building wealth and building passive income, it's as simple as that. I can determine when I take a vacation, and if somebody wants to try to fire me over it, it's not a big deal. Of course, you're going to be upset, but you're not going to be. You won't be stuck. You can't not do that. So I think it's so important to look out for yourself financially and not just rely on working for 40 years at the same company or just working for 40 years in general and getting Social Security and maybe getting some, you saved up $1 million in your Roth IRA over time. Like that's not going to be a way to live. $1 million in a Roth IRA will help you survive, but you're not going to enjoy your life. And that's only after you've worked for 50 years, 50
Exactly.
years. That's terrible. That's an awful, and that's what we promise to people. We say, oh, if you max out your Roth IRA every year, in 40 years, you're going to be in a position where you could stop working. Never mind, you're going to be in such bad shape because you're deteriorating physically. Everybody does. That you're not going to be able to do the things that you wanted to do back when you started working. And maybe you'll have a few good years left. That's a terrible promise. I cannot believe that's something we're sold. This is the way to go. Alternatively, like you've been saying, you can, and I understand why you were mad finding out you weren't told this, because I think everybody feels the same way. This is so amazing. You could buy real estate, you could buy a property every year for 5 to 10 years, and you're financially free. And you can determine when you take vacations, you determine when you go and where you go and how you do it. And rather than working for 50 years, you just put your head down for 10 and you're in an amazing spot. And it doesn't even take that long for some people, but I think 10 years is an easily achievable path to financial freedom for anybody out there.
Yeah, and again, it's all, what does that mean for you, right? It's probably different for everybody, but yeah, probably getting to the point how much you're making your day job, you can match that, like I'm sure in less than 10 years. Again, it's all mindset. Like it's like I didn't even know that was possible, right? Like if you don't know it exists, it's possible, so you didn't even think about it because you just, there's no way for you to know it, right? And I think that's what we've been programmed as a society. I mean, and it's not just here in the state, I think globally, right? If you look, like it's everybody, look at, Asians kind of like work. Like it's all about, the worker bees and only like that 1% or 0.5%, like they kind of know they run the system in a way, right? Everything's been set up. Think about from like industrial age, people were at the factories, that's what they're doing. And I think back then the working week was like a 6 or even 7, right? It wasn't 40. 40 is just a recent phenomena. People used to work 6 days, maybe 10 or even more. It was, you look back all those like Brooklyn movies from the 20s, like or even 1800s, like all what people were doing just working. There was no such, financial freedom type thing.
Oh yeah, and that's where so much of our society comes from, is the industrial age and those 9 to 5s. And like you said, that was when we got it under control. That's when there was labor strikes and labor unions where they got it down to 9 to 5. But that's still taught and instituted today, that we're mostly knowledge workers as a whole anymore. I would say that the large portion of the GDP is knowledge work, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to work 9 to 5. And for some reason, we're still doing the 9 to 5 schedule, and you get several weeks of vacation a year. And some companies are stepping outside the bounds of this, but you don't really want to wait for somebody to give it to you. You should probably just go out and do it. And an easy way to do it is real estate. So I think you and I can agree on that one.
Yeah, 100%.
Why? So I know you talked about Austin for, you just really like the atmosphere, you like the people, the weather's great most of the time. July and August, it's a little hot.
Yeah.
What are you up to here in Austin, Roman, and with Casago, and really, what are you working on right now on the real estate investing side?
Have you wanted to be part of GoBundance, the tribe of millionaires, but just haven't hit that millionaire status yet? Well, now you can, not even being a millionaire, by joining our new program, GoBundance Emerge. My name's Jamie Gruber, creator of GoBundance Emerge and member of the GoBundance community. And now you can join. GoBundance.com/emerge. GoBundance.com/emerge. Use code Jordan for $100 off this 12-week goal-setting program and mastermind that'll propel you to being a whole life millionaire.
So it's kind of, again, the niche of I'm building the short-term rental management company.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what kind of part of the Casago, I bought into the franchise model, right? So it's a little bit different than, what your traditional one. It's my business. I'm just basically partnering with them with all the kind of brand and software and all the tools, bells and whistles. So again, think of us, Airbnbs, VRBOs, and I have clients, it's second homeowners, right? Folks live in Houston, Dallas, and Hill Country. And for listeners that are not familiar, it's basically west from Austin, goes all the way to like Fredericksburg, which is like old German town. So that's a lot of wineries. It kind of reminds me of like Southern California with all the hills,
Mm-hmm.
right? What people from, either Houston, Dallas, it's just not as flat, right? It's a different climate, like different landscape. So that's why they call it like Hill Country. And it's a lot of people come just kind of hang out and vacation and food and drinks and shopping. So kind of why this market piqued my interest and why we picked it again is just being close to the city like Austin, right? You have access to air, like, again, for me personally, I wanted to be in a big city enough. So, at least 1 million plus population, have a good growth, international airport, all those. And again, it close by to bigger cities like you have Houston and San Antonio and Dallas. And obviously good regulations, good, awesome quality properties. Like if you're familiar with Hill Country, there's, medium property, it's say to 700 to 800, right? Those are all awesome. And then average probably $1.5 million to 2 million. Those are awesome properties that, by managing them, there's a lot of revenue that we can, offer to the property owner and then keep as a percentage of our fees. So it's definitely kind of hit all the boxes from regulatory perspective, easy to do a business. There's stuff to do. So it brings tourists, like my guests to the properties. And then there's enough of good quality inventory for investors to kind of go in and buy, and just for general, it's just a wealthy area to be in.
Yeah. So, you say Hill Country. Are there any specific cities that you're heavier in than others?
So I'm kind of starting out again. I've been 6 months in, so I'm kind of starting out with Dripping Springs, because obviously I live like 15 minutes away. And as we start here, ideally want to get by the end of the year to kind of go to Fredericksburg, because that's kind of the ultimate mecca, if you will. I think it's about 2,500 like vacation homes as we speak, and they always grow, and they're adding like 50 new wineries. Plus with this recent phenomenon that's going to happen with the solar eclipse in April, they expected like thousands of people are going to come and again discover the area for themselves. And once they discover, like, oh my God, I want to come back, right? So it's just going to be more and more growth, and obviously I want to be part of that growth. And that's again compared to other markets, as I was doing my research, Florida's, California, all the kind of coastal, again, there's already well-established companies there. So this market feels, a little bit untapped, that I can kind of come in and take bigger pie.
And I think as Austin continues to grow rapidly like it is, they projected, I saw an article projected to be the third largest city in the US by 2100. And yeah, that's a really long time, but that's just telling you how fast the city is growing. And I think as Austin continues to grow, there's going to be people that want to get a little bit out of town like that. And you can drive an hour or two and be in some great hill country areas. So that's a lot of fun.
Look, I don't know if you've been Dripping Springs. Even that, I was talking to locals and people like, it's already like expanding, right? So it feels exploding. Like so now the people that live in Dripping Springs that originally moved, they now want to move further out, like Johnson City, maybe, right? Mm-hmm. So it feels like it's just a matter of time. It'll get connected with Fredericksburg, similar as you see we're approaching Austin and San Antonio. Mm-hmm. Like it's that area. It's New Braunfels. It's all going to merge soon, inevitably, right? It's just, it's an awesome metro to be in, right? Like kind of being traveled around the country. It's a good place to be from, again, and the big sign is you have all the tech companies investing billions and billions of dollars, and that's a good sign. Like they obviously looking, 5, 10, 15, 20 years out when they do their expansion planning. So you can't go wrong with that, even though people say, oh my God, it's too populated, saturated, but it is what it is, right? Like change. Because I don't know if I hear, especially from locals here, they always complain, oh my God, Austin's not like it used to be. But listen, like New York, it's not like it used to be, right? Like it's so it's kind of hard to complain, especially if you don't want to change, right? Like I've noticed people that don't want to change, wherever they go, everything's going to be bad, right? Because they have to look inside. Like if you're willing to change, then you're going to grow. If you want to kind of stay stagnated, like wherever you go, it's going to be bad for you because it's all up to you.
Yeah, even just looking at other big Texas cities, Austin is not. It's nowhere close to Dallas or Houston. And just looking at those, you can see where the growth is going to happen and continue to happen. Is even since I've been going to Dallas, frequently over about the last 10 years, I remember when Denton was, it felt like some small town outside of Dallas. Now people in Dallas are going up to Denton, so about an hour from downtown Dallas. But we will continue to grow that way. Yeah, it will take time. Yeah, it's going to feel like it's getting too big or it's way bigger than it's ever been. But over time, people get used to that and becomes the new normal. So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll just live, I kind of live on the south, so I don't really go to like Round Rock, right, like Pflugerville, right? So it's just you kind of tend to stay in your area, and if you need to go, you can go, right? It's just whatever works for you. And again, it's all in comparison, and especially new people like going to come to, oh my God, this is awesome, right? Because they don't know how it used to be, so it's I wouldn't even bother with what people are saying. Similar with like California, right? Everybody's saying, oh my God, California, everybody's fleeing. When I go to California, I talk to people like, dude, what are you talking about? Everybody wants to be here. Everybody's coming here, right? So it's like, who do you listen?
Yeah, there's always going to be somebody saying everything's awful somewhere. So can't listen to them. Roman, you've invested in a couple different asset classes. You've invested in a few different markets. What's the biggest mistake you've made in real estate investing that you could think of?
I wouldn't say mistake. It's more not thinking bigger, I would say. And maybe being a little bit of kind of taking higher risks, but more, again, calculated risks, right? I think that's maybe like stepping back or maybe not partnering to get a bigger deal, because at the end of the day, perfect example with mobile home park, like there was 5 of us, like it would probably never I would have done it by myself, right? So I took that kind of leap of faith, partner up, but it was the best experience we've ever had with because it's totally different animal, like with managing, dealing with tenants. So I wouldn't say like a mistake, And obviously, probably the in the beginning, I was put offers on the stuff without properly analyzing, just to get a deal, right? And maybe, knock on wood, I was, protected by getting to some crappy deals. So I would definitely recommend don't rush just to, sometimes people say, oh, just buy something, you'll kind of figure out, right? You want to get in the game, but be really careful, not being too aggressive and getting to something that you can't get out, because if you do, then you can get burned and you're like, you know what, screw it, this real estate thing doesn't work for me, and then you'll just never going to be in it, right? So I would say do more analysis, talk to others that has experience versus just blindly going on your own and thinking even though even that calculator is pretty neat, bigger pockets, like just still run by other people and like figure out why you want to be in specific market versus just, oh, I saw a post, they say this is a cool hot market, let me go analyze deals there, right? Like there's just, okay, why, this, like maybe it makes sense for them, but why does it make sense for you to go to that market? So I would just add, do more due diligence and analyze more before kind of putting offers in.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I invest in Louisville, Kentucky, and people always ask, well, why'd you pick Louisville? And why it makes sense for me is because I'm actually from Louisville, Kentucky originally. My father still lives there. My best friend from grade school, who's now my business partner, still lives there. I know people all over the place. So I invest in Austin, but the other market I invest in is Louisville, Kentucky. But the reason I invest in Louisville, Kentucky, because I know so many people there. I know the city like the back of my hand. I lived there for 21 years. It's just not as simple as, hey, I saw Louisville was good, so I went there. Or, hey, I saw Austin was good, so I went there. I always tell people, have an advantage in markets you're looking at. So if you're interested in Austin, do you go to Austin frequently? Do you know people in Austin? Are you moving to Austin? That can really help, but it's hard to invest in Austin if you're from California. And you kind of alluded to it, but the market, a good market can cover up a lot of mistakes. And we just went through like a really, really good market. And people really got lucky in a lot of sense. But that's just not a fundamentally great way to invest, is just to get lucky. It might not get lucky.
Yeah, 100%. It's like saying investing for appreciation. That's not a strong fundamental. Like that should be your, bonus, but not the core. Like if you say I want to break even, then in my mind it's much better goal than saying, well, I'm going to lose, but I will appreciate, right? Just be honest. Okay, if it's a break even, then it's break even. You'll get your tax, kind of some sort of deductions and then appreciate. But yeah, don't I wouldn't even kind of factor in appreciation in my analysis. It's just something, if it happens, it's awesome. But if it's not, just don't even look at that.
Yeah, it's a good bonus, like you said. You sort of answered my question here already, but I just want to see if you have any sort of different answers. If you had to start over today, would you do anything differently other than go bigger, faster? And I think that's an awesome answer there. But is there anything other you would do if you said, hey, I'm starting over today with nothing?
I'll probably get my real estate license like from day one and just get involved in it and just be master my market, right? Like be the guy. And that comes with knowing the market. You'll know the people, the dealers, the owners. Like just, I would do that. Like I would probably even. I mean, I learned stuff in college, but I would probably right after I would just get that real estate license and just do the kind of the stuff that works.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to create a wheel. Just there's a proven method and just go and do it.
Yeah, and I think. What a benefit of having a real estate license is you could, let's say you're cold calling sellers to find deals and you find a deal that just doesn't work for you. You could try to sell that deal. You could try to sell it to somebody else. You could try to list it, whatever it is. But it does give you a little bit of an ability, especially if you also want to work as a realtor. I think it could be a great marriage to be a realtor and a real estate investor when you're doing both simultaneously. So good piece.
Yeah, I agree on that marriage, because I know some folks like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. There's, the regulations and something like wholesaling you can't do. But I think you're really missing out that bigger portion that allows you to grow, and it almost gives you that stamp of approval, like right in the general population. If you're, hey, yeah, I'm a real estate agent versus, yeah, I'm just real estate investor. That's good, but like, you can build your business being an agent and real estate investor, right? Like those two kind of go hand in hand. Like look at KW. I mean, you were with KW, like they all agents and investor. That it doesn't hurt. It only benefits. So it always definitely counter that. And it's me. I tried that. I was in Denver, and I was on Craig's Curl Up's team. So I tried that. I thought it was being agents, like, right, it's these people are overpaid, man. Like, what do they do? But like being on that side, I'm like, oh man, this is a hard work. Or like just getting a license, I think I had to do 3 times because national was easy, but then the state, I was like, damn it, man. I did business school. Like this should be a piece of cake. Like, what are we talking about? Like, no, yeah, it took me some time to figure it out and pass. Yeah, so it takes hard work and then dedication and consistency to be, and especially if you don't enjoy it, it's going to be harder to do it.
Oh yeah, because if you don't enjoy it, it is a lot of work, and it's a lot of work very full time. I mean, there's sometimes where you might have a 30-hour week, but there's sometimes where you might have a 60 or 70-hour week. And if somebody's calling you at 8 p.m. about something, or somebody's reaching out at 7 a.m. about something, and you need to be on call for that sometimes, where if your client's calling at 8 p.m. or 7 a.m. or 8:30 a.m., you don't just get to not answer because it's not business hours. Or sometimes you really do need to talk to these people right away. Roman, with your very varied experience, what are your long-term goals for real estate investing, and where do you see yourself going?
Jordan Moorhead here. Really quickly, wanted to tell you a couple other ways you can keep track of us. If you want to listen to all these podcasts and ask questions, the Moorhead team on YouTube is the best place to be. And then Austin Real Estate Investors on Meetup is a great place to keep track of all of our meetups we have going on.
I like the hospitality space, right? Like it really gets me. Definitely short-term rental, but like hotels, I'm kind of researching more about kind of like the boutique hotel space, but also like hotels in general, because I think those are the two different animals. One is more all the loyalty programs, right? Like those your franchise, kind of more established revenue stream, because you have that kind of clients from different businesses. But on the boutique side, it's just you get to do what you want to do. It almost like think about it as like single family home and multifamily. So I'm thinking the same way as like short-term rental and then hotel, because you can like have every room could be different, right? You can have a different experience. So it's just cool things you can, and especially here in the Hill Country, you can do like a resort, right? You can do all those, casitas or all those little tree houses. Just cool space. And then once you start getting to that level, it becomes, as a NOI, not just as a single family home, right? Like as far as valuation. So I think I like that perspective, either building or value add, and then you can build wealth from that standpoint. So I definitely enjoy that, but also like passive. Like I know I own a couple like syndication deals as a limited partner. So those are also good from more like on I have like a solo 401k account, so I use that for those vehicles. Just kind of be a little bit diversified, but definitely staying in that hospitality space. It really kind of excites me because again, it's active, and then that's what I enjoy at the moment. There's a lot of dealing with guests, dealing with kind of industry in general, and because it's really very dynamic. from regulatory standpoint to different softwares, different kind of cool places, you get to travel. So I definitely like the space.
Yeah, I like how you talked about being diversified within real estate too, because I think of myself, I'm similar in that respect that I have some passive investments and I have a few different kinds of active investments, but you don't have to stick with just one thing. And especially when you start getting into the passive side of things, it doesn't really take any more energy to invest in different asset classes. But the hospitality space, it can be very interesting. So that's cool that you're interested in maybe scaling up into small boutique hotels too. That's fun.
Yeah, no, I like that. Again, it's the real estate play with that hospitality management component, right? Because it's easier to get SBA loans. There's just so much. So they get it, like they understand hotels, right? Versus like STRs, right? There's still traditional banks don't really, they don't understand. They all apply long-term rental to value them, right? They don't really look at like your Airbnb kind of revenue.
Cool. So you mentioned that you owned a mobile home park at one point in time with 5 partners, is it right?
Yes, yeah. We were in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, cool. So would you just buy the park? Did you still have that?
No, we sold it. So it was 21, summer 21. It was we bought it, I believe 2018. It was it was a heavy like value add. It was really like seller finance because they couldn't get financing. So we bought it. We paved the roads, brought some homes. Really got it. I think we were like at 55, and then I think we got it almost to 70. So it was and then I lived in Charlotte at the time, so I would kind of probably go every quarter or so, just kind of check on it. So yeah, talking about dealing with tenants and getting a call from tenants, right? That's a totally different animal as those folks are truly, living on fixed income, either again, their mainly social security checks. Some folks worked at, like at the McDonald's or so it really gives you kind of perspective of it's yes, it's a real estate, but we're really providing housing for people, right? And you start looking, oh man, this is like we're really benefiting the community by owning, like think about it, it's like 70 homes times 3, it's like 200 people, it's like a small village.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it gives you like, some proud, like, oh man, like, yeah, these people, like, because of us, we get to provide housing for them. So that was a good step up from, having a house hack and doing some like real estate deals to like, we actually, provide value for the community.
Yeah, it's affordable housing too. I think that's such a big thing with mobile home parks is they're so affordable. And a lot of those people, people talk about, oh, maybe the homes depreciate or maybe they can't move them that easily, but you're not going to find any housing affordable as that anywhere else.
Well, I think what we would show, like if it's a $450 rent, if they get $1,200, $1,300 a month, I mean, right? It's a third of their pay. Like and you get like it's a 2-bedroom, it's a decent. I mean, it's probably some of those homes are bigger than apartments in New York City. Like so you're talk about affordability. Like you can't go better than that. And again, it's a separate, right? They don't live in an apartment. I think that's another selling point. It's a house, right? Like that's what they like. They don't want to be in a building with other neighbors, so that way they have some privacy.
Yeah, love it. They got their own lawn. Roman, do you have a favorite book that you like to recommend to friends or people that are interested in maybe short-term rentals?
I have 2 now because I'm reading one as it's really fascinating. So the first one is Cash Flow Quadrant. Kiyosaki, and everybody talks about rich, poor, dead, poor, but I'm more on the cash flow quadrant. That was a aha moment for me when he talks about being that employee, self-employed, and over to the business owner and investor. That was like aha moment for me. Like as I'm kind of moved over from that employee to being kind of that business owner / I'm still kind of self-employed. and dabbling in an investor. I think what he talks about when you invest like 100% full time. So we can talk, Warren Buffett is an investor, right? He doesn't really operate his company. So that was solid book. Again, mindset, like takes you from the employee to business owner. And now I'm reading, it's called 10X is easier than 2X. That's
great book.
Blows my mind as like I'm like, oh my God, like, again, it's one of those makes me frustrated and mad of damn, like, right, like it's just so good, even though it's not a lot of new content, but the way he puts it, like, it's just. And again, the big one I like, because he has 40 years of experience with coaching like top entrepreneurs, and that comes from seeing what works, seeing how they think, so it's like, that's like manual if you want to be successful in like 10x your level of what you're doing, especially in the business space. You can't get better than that, right? So that's my second. In a short-term rental space, I don't know. There's a lot of, I think, again, I'm more into management, right? So I'm managing properties for others. I think there's a lot of like, hey, how do you buy your first property, right? There's just pieces and bits. There's not like a good course or good information. And I kind of put a plug in. I'm actually working on a course that's going to specifically focus on how to get your management clients, right? Like focusing on the pure management versus buying your first kind of Airbnb or short-term rental property.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, I hope I answered your question.
No, I love the cash flow quadrant. I love 10X is easier than 2X. I'm actually reading that right now myself. Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan are so good at that stuff, and each one of their books just somehow keeps getting better. So this one's amazing. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I finished. I have a gap in the gain. I'm halfway through. And finished is I'm actually with Be Your Future Self Now. That's like I think feels like you got to read those two before you read 10X. Yeah. They kind of build on those, and then as you're again adding with the Miracle Morning with your routine goal setting, again it's whole, but it's a journey, right? So you were asking me how I got in. That was 2017, and I left my W-2 in 2021. So it took me like good 4 years, and COVID definitely helped, right? I was part of that great resignation movement because it forced me out of my comfort, out of the office, and I worked remotely. And when I left, when I quit, I was on the road anyway. So it wasn't like, okay, Friday I was at the office and then Monday I'm not going to go in, right? There was no habit. I broke that habit a while back when the COVID started. So it was just much easier for me to leave, and then I was busy with my real estate and the management, so it was kind of easier for me to leave. And I remember when I kind of started this journey, I was asking all the kind of entrepreneurs, like, so how do you know when to leave? Like, how would you know, right? Like, trust me, you'll know whenever your job starts interfering with your business. You'll know that's the time to quit your W-2, right? So pretty much that's what happened. So it's interesting how, like, again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just kind of follow somebody who's successful doing what you want to do, and you'll get there.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that the other day about how COVID was a blessing for a lot of people. It just shook things up. It changed so much so quickly, and it was absolutely horrible and terrible for a lot of people too. And I want to fully acknowledge that. But for some people, it was like, hey, why am I still doing this thing? Why don't I go do a new job? Or why don't I start a business? Or, maybe I'm going to any other thing you're thinking of. Maybe I'm going to start investing in real estate now. It was really good for those things, but I don't know that would have happened for so many people if COVID wouldn't have sped them up.
It was like a reset button, right? And I think if it were for like 2, 3, or even 6 months, everybody would go back to their normal. But it was 2 years or like 2.5.
Yeah. And
again, different industries are different. I was in corporate, so we weren't allowed to go to the office, right? So you're literally like had to stay. So that was like, okay, why am I doing, like, right? It's just to your point, like you said, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Right? You start questioning yourself. Maybe there's something else I can do, and I don't want to go back to the office. because I enjoyed my lifestyle. I don't want to go back, right? That was my COVID hit. I was like, I got to find a way not to go back to the office. That was kind of my goal, because, I was living the dream, right? Traveling, I lived in LA for 3 months, then like Colorado, in Dubai. I was like living the dream. So it was like, you can't put me back in a cage, right? Like there's no way.
That's cool. That's really cool. I want to hear about Dubai some other time, but we're kind of running out of time here, Roman. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? If people are interested about Casago or just your experience in the hospitality industry, what's the best way for people to reach out?
I'm, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm kind of staying in those channels. So I'm kind of, I think there's only me, Roman Tomakiv. There's no other. So it's easy to find me. Just Facebook, LinkedIn, those work.
Do you have a website for Casago?
Yeah, they can go to Casago.com. It's more like a general, but then if the find markets, they can do like North Hill Country. It's like my specific, I'm actually working on a separate kind of my local website, but like for now I'm using the bigger kind of the whole franchise with all the different destinations that we have.
That's cool. So you're Roman Tomakiv on Facebook,
and LinkedIn. And I'm on Instagram as well. If you're put my name, I'm more on the Roman_hospitality_expert. I know it's on, but I kind of stuck to it.
Okay, that's on Instagram. So Roman_hospitality_expert on Instagram.
Yes.
Of course, I'm at Jordan_Moorhead on Instagram. Roman, thank you so much for coming on here today. Can't wait to see you at our next meetup here too.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Likewise.
Yep. Talk to you soon.
Yep.